In 2016, on January 16th, a 51-year-old Marine posted to his Facebook, "Just wanted to give you guys a heads up. If something happens to me in the next day or two, it will be the result of the Fresno Police Department. My neighbor, an employee at my job, pay less brakes and tires on Blackstone." Immensely sounds like the ramblings of someone suffering from a delusional mental illness, the likes of which we see frequently on the internet. However, people started to pay more attention when, surprisingly, John was able to provide evidence that something suspicious was going on. John, a resident of Fresno, was a neighborhood activist who endured years of harassment by Fresno law enforcement beginning in 2009. He discovered unlawful behavior within the police department. In 2011, he wrote on a local newspaper website, the Fresno Bee. Fresno law enforcement had a pattern of practice of unethically scanning license plates on private retail parking lots. They then pull the unexpecting drivers over a block or two away from the parking lots. This was meant to optimize ticket revenue at a very minimal expense. Millions of dollars of revenue has been generated in this questionable manner by Fresno area law enforcement agencies. Later writing, "I thought the parking lot license plate scanning was abusive and simply designed as a revenue generating scheme for the city of Fresno. So, as an expression of peaceful protest, I voiced my opinion at the Fresno Bee." Jody Murray was feeding a known sheriff sergeant who used the alias Hiker Dude 1967 website data containing IP addresses which Fresno law enforcement used to track down citizens who were posting comments critical of them. John is not the only person who believes that the Fresno Police Department is among the most dishonest law enforcement agencies in the country. The acknowledged history of brutality, misconduct, and corruption inside the department has sparked demonstrations and a need for reform, but no one appears to be paying attention. 3 years later, he wrote, "I received a call from a person to look at a jet ski that I placed for sale on Craigslist. 3 people showed up for this appointment. He had all the mannerisms and personality of a law enforcement person. He was tall with an average build and short, cropped blonde hair. The other one, surprisingly, was Jody Murray. However, at the time, I did not realize this. The third person was a younger male, slightly heavy-set, riding a newer, modern motorcycle. In John's writing, he often repeats himself. For simplicity, I cut repetition out instead of reading his words verbatim. John thought Fresno police had tapped his phones and installed a GPS in his car. They frequently followed him around Fresno, saying they always know where to find him. John reported incidents of police harassment to an independent review office in 2015. Less than 2 weeks later, the police department increased their intimidation and harassment, and they did so for several months before John Lang was permanently silenced. It appears his claims of corruption are true. Federal and state investigators claim that Fresno police chiefs regularly plotted with vice lords who are members of a large gang up to the late 1970s, using payoffs to purchase huge vineyards and horse ranches north of the city. Due to tax evasion, one chief was sent to prison. Another, Jerry Dyer, who has been the chief of police since 2001, was charged with inappropriate assault of a teenage girl in the 1980s while working as a police officer. After these accusations, Dyer received a promotion to sergeant. There have been approximately 200 lawsuits brought against the Fresno Police Department for using excessive force during the past 10 years. The judge dismissed nearly half of them. A homeless man was beaten by two Fresno police officers in July 2009. There is a video of this. He was restrained and lying face down. Hitting him was completely unnecessary. In June 2010, a prostitution operation resulted in the arrest of a police officer. Ignore Alfred Campus. Another officer was put under investigation in 2014 after he tried to sell a stolen vehicle. In 2006, his residence was searched for illegal substances. None was found, but no arrest was made. Police dismissed it, claiming that Campos' bedroom did not contain any substances. He was sharing a house with his brothers. Substances and money were found in the brothers' bedroom. Derek Carson Gall, a 41-year-old former police detective, entered a guilty plea in 2015 to the charges that he had accepted a $20,000 bribe from a dealer 2 years prior. William Wyatt, a Fresno police officer, was sentenced to probation rather than prison in October 2015 after assaulting an unconscious woman. Art Rodriguez, a Fresno police officer, was subject to crime investigations in 2018. According to investigators, a 7-year-old girl told a nurse that Rodriguez was inappropriate with her while she was in his foster care. Additionally, they ran a web search and discovered nude pictures of an underage girl on his phone. However, as usual, there were no charges pressed against him. There is more, but I do not need to continue, as this video is not about a corrupt police system. It is about John Lang. The Fresno Police Department started to harass and intimidate John as soon as he reported the license plate scam. This continued for almost 7 years. He documented this on his Twitter. However, those who saw his post were skeptical and thought John's paranoia was unfounded. After all, some of what he was saying about the neighborhood police seemed improbable. They should have better things to do with their time than harass someone for 7 years. And he set up security cameras to collect video evidence of his claims. These videos were posted to YouTube. He also posted to the Facebook page on an ABC News anchor. Warren, do you want some news? Corrupt Fresno cops are trying to, this weekend, possibly tonight. This is no joke. Please follow up on my story, regardless of what happens or what version the cops and Fresno Bee come up with. Then linking for the news reporter to check out his comments and YouTube channel. The next day, John uploaded his last video and predicted his own fatality. If I turn up missing or tomorrow, remember this van. I think I saw a couple guys sneak out of the side door and into the building when it was parked in the carport this afternoon. I have been causing the city of Fresno a lot of problems lately, which I now regret. The side of the van is for guarantee carpet cleaning service. Suspiciously, soon after when John uploaded this video, Guarantee's carpet cleaning website was deleted. A Redditor investigating the case called the number listed for the business. The user asked about John, but was called stupid and was told the van was near the house because the company was providing cleaning services for his neighbor. which corresponds with the video showing a man dropping a flyer over his neighbor's gate. Is this related to his passing, or is it simply just a carpet cleaning service that doesn't have much of an online presence? The same day he posted, "Anyone want to crash at my pad tonight? Must be a legal gun owner. I think the bad guys may come and get me tonight." I'm wondering why John asked Facebook friends to stay at his house instead of leaving and going elsewhere. Police couldn't find him. 4 days after posting this, his house burnt down with him inside it. The Fresno Police Department responded to a fire at John Lang's residence. Firefighters entered the house and discovered John on the floor at the back of the house. They observed he had been stabbed numerous times, and he was promptly declared deceased. John had been stabbed repeatedly in the abdomen and back, and his house had been set on fire. According to Lieutenant Joe Gomez, the police department's public relations officer, the spokesman for the Fresno County Sheriff and Coroner, Tony Botti, said John had 3 superficial self-inflicted stab wounds to his chest, but no cuts on his back, contrary to what law enforcement initially reported. Fresno Police Lieutenant Brooke Farah, chief of the homicide unit, responded when asked by local media why the first report had altered. The confusion was caused by incorrect information released at the scene by Gomez, the firefighter, and he blamed him for making a mistake. His manner of passing was determined to be self-inflicted, with several stab wounds as a contributing factor. The cause of passing was determined to be inhalation of smoke. A bread knife and a Japanese kitchen knife were brought in by Fresno police, according to the report. John may have used the bread knife on himself. The coroner disqualified the Japanese knife, though, because it wasn't big enough to correspond with the wounds. It is implausible that someone would stab themselves with a serrated bread knife. That would be difficult to do so and require a lot of strength, especially with there being multiple stab wounds. The knife is meant to cut bread, not stab things, so they don't have pointy tips. It is not easy to pierce through someone's chest far enough to reach their heart with a dull knife. John's house was surrounded by iron gates, which firefighters had to force their way through. Also, all the entrances to the home were barricaded, making it challenging for rescuers to reach him, according to the report. Also saying that the fire had to be started by the victim, as there would be no exit for anyone to escape from. And John did have supplies necessary to start a fire if he wanted to. On the day of the fire, John went in front of his security camera twice with a knife in his hand before shutting the cameras off. Immediately, John's social media followers did not believe this could have been self-inflicted. John had evidence that particular Fresno police officers had harassed him before his passing. John claimed on Twitter that he would be ended by the police, and 2 days later he had passed. Those who followed him on social media were outraged by John's passing. Media outlets, however, hardly covered the subject at all. In a public attack on the city of Fresno officials, the hacker group Anonymous vowed that John Lang will not be forgotten, and threatened to shut down the city's website. After John Lang's passing, his online journal was instantly deleted. Photos of John are near impossible to find. Even with an obituary, the only picture people have is an old high school photo of poor quality. Important to note, there is another fatality that was allegedly covered up by the Fresno police. The lifeless lieutenant Jose Morales, a 30-year-old police officer, was discovered in 2004 just 100 feet from Jerry Dyer, the chief of police in Fresno. In 2004, Dyer took Jose's badge and firearm away and suspended him for allegedly breaking department rules. Jose informed the psychologist assigned to him by his department that he intended to physically challenge Dyer. After that evening, Jose got an anonymous call and went to Dyer's house to face him. This was the last time Jose was seen alive. His children reported that following the call, their father appeared to be in distress. Jose contacted his wife, Yolanda, shortly after he had left, asking where Dyer lived. She was confused by this, as Jose already was aware of where he lived. Shortly after he spoke with Yolanda on the phone, Jose's body was discovered across the street from Dyer's house with a gunshot wound to the chest. He had a rifle at his left side and was lying face down in the roadside next to his truck. He had a big gash on his right eye that he didn't have when he left home. Allegedly, Jose was discovered and reported by a passerby, though after informing police a body was found, his phone was immediately shut off and he was never identified. The manner of passing was declared to be self-inflicted. His family did not agree with this ruling. The firearm was discovered on Jose's left side. He was right-handed. Additionally, Jose's hands had no sign of firearm residue on them, and the coroner's report said he was circumcised when he really was not. Seems like the report was sloppily handled with several mistakes. Many individuals, including Jose's family, think that Dyer was responsible for Jose's passing. Jose confronted him, and he transported his body to the spot where he was discovered. The self-inflicted aspect was staged. Dyer was also the Fresno chief of police when John Lang was stabbed and his house was set on fire. Many people speculate that the firefighter never made a mistake in saying that John was stabbed in the back. The report was only changed to make it look like it was self-inflicted, as it would be extremely unlikely for John to stab himself in the back. The fire was set to destroy any evidence. John was found in the back of his home, though the fire was set in the front. Though this is just alleged, I cannot legally say it is a fact. The video the police report that his security camera caught him walking with the knife was never released. Would his body language suggest he was fearful and trying to protect himself rather than intending to harm himself? Especially with the evidence John posted, it doesn't seem too far-fetched to believe the police were involved in his passing. One video he uploaded shows a man scoping out John's property. Another shows a man recording John's house. Then 6 officers parked and standing across the street from John's property, likely to intimidate him. The first 2 recorded in daylight, the second at 10 p.m. There are other videos, but these are the most notable.